Welcome to this series of introductory lessons related to the time value of money. My name is Brent Pritchard. I teach college finance courses, and I'm here to help you grasp this all-important concept. This introductory series is designed to help you learn how to apply the mathematics of finance in less than a month, provided you commit to one or more lessons a day. It's that easy. Acquiring the hard skill that is the mathematics of finance does not need to be hard. I hope you enjoy this fun new take on this age-old concept. And after you've done that, please consider telling your friends about this channel, TVM Rules, and the book, Would Your Boomerang Return, also known as the Boomerang Book that made it possible. I like to start every class with a quote, so here we go with the quote of the lesson. It comes from my mom. These were wise words she spoke the day that I left home to go to college. That's a day I'll never forget. Never forget where you came from. The focus of this lesson is the building block present value equation. With this lesson, we will have made it through the 9 building block time value of money equations. And that's great because this is lesson 15. In addition to discussing the building block time value of money equations, we've covered a lot of other great content as well. There are 13 remaining lessons in this introductory unit, so there's more where this came from. Let me tell you a little story. I think of myself as having 3 hometowns, and I'm looking to add a 4th to the list before my number is up. One of those is Fort Dodge, Iowa. It's one word if you're from there, Fort Dodge. It was in Fort Dodge where I had my Post-it note event. I write about this in the book. There was a reason Mike Trotter didn't need to reach for another Post-it note to write out the building block present value equation. It's because the building block present value equation is hidden in the building block future value equation. With a little bit of rearranging, you could also solve for present value using the building block future value equation and vice versa. Once again, it's helpful to be able to double check our work using the building block time value of money equations. So here's the real world situation for this lesson. We've got 2 lump sum payments to be made in the future. The first 1 year from now, the second payment 2 years from now. The way that I think about this is an annuity in my book, but it's an uneven annuity. So we have a frequent payment, but it's not even in terms of the amount. We could say that it's even in terms of timing, but it's not even in terms of the amount. So what we're really dealing with here is a single payment or a lump sum. And so this is going to be an iterative process to determine the present values for these amounts. So let's draw the TVM wallet. I'm actually going to draw 2 wallets, and I'm not going to stack them like I did in the last lesson because we don't have an intermediate step here. We just need to solve for 2 present values. Let's start with the one on the left. So I'm going to write in the 5 primary time value of money inputs or variables, the keys on your financial calculator. We were told that the true annual investment yield is 8%. Now in my trusty HP12C, I need to write that in as a percentage. Your calculator may be different. Let's do some visualizing here. So we'll start with the first cash flow. So this first cash flow is $12,081,000 $977, and we're solving for the present value, so we're going to circle that. 0 for PMT payment, because we don't have an annuity in the traditional sense, which is a payment that is frequent, that has even or equal payments in terms of the amount and timing. So our future value, as we determined, is $12,081,977. We're solving for PV. But how are we telling time? Let's fill in the blank. We're telling time with an annual time span in between period markers. So we'll put an A here for the subscript for uppercase N. We know that only a true annual investment yield will work, and that's good because that's the number that was provided. But you may recall from the question that this is a true annual investment yield with quarterly compounding. That's great information to know that quarterly compounding is what led to this true annual investment yield of 8%. But in this case, it's information we don't need to solve for this question. So we have one period of time here, and when we solve for the present value, we get negative $11,187,015.74. So that's our first present value. Let's move on to the second window. It's time period 0, time period 1, time period 2. Doesn't need to be drawn to scale. We're trying to determine the present value again. And in this wallet, let's write in the 5 primary TVM variables, the inputs, the keys on your calculator. We're solving for present value once again. And the problem said that 2 years from now, there's going to be a second payment. And that second payment is $9,142,005. 005. It's getting kind of small, but it works. This is still an annual time span, so we haven't changed how we're telling time. And now there are 2 discounting periods. We need to bring that back to what is today. Remember, period marker 0 on the timeline is not always now or today, but in this example, it is. And so we input $9,142,005 in our financial calculator for FV. Remember, the TVM wallet is meant to be used in conjunction with your financial calculator. So hopefully you're following along at home or wherever you are with your financial calculator in hand as you draw out these TVM wallets. And when we solve for the present value, we get negative $7,837,795.78. So there we go. We've solved for these 2 present values, and let's add them up actually. We'll add them up. When we take the first present value, it's okay to use positive no sign values here. When we add the present values, let's make sure I get these numbers right. 79578. When we add those together, we get $19,024,811.52. So that's the aggregate value of those 2 cash flows. Let's double check our work. Obviously, we're using the building block present value equation, but as we mentioned toward the beginning of this lesson, you could also rearrange the building block future value equation to determine present value, and that's just using simple algebra. So let's start with the future value equation. Why not? Because we'll ultimately determine the present value equation. 1 plus I is a true investment yield. raised to the power of n. That's uppercase N. So there we have our future value equation. How could we rearrange? Well, we need to move everything here that I've circled to the other side of the equal sign. So when we change signs, the sign changes. So PV equals FV. I said the sign changes, right? So we're dividing by 1 plus I raised to the power of n. So we'll get rid of this because we are dealing with the present value, the building block present value equation. And let's solve for these two values. So present value equals, we started with $12,081,977. Remember, that was cash flow at the end of the first period, so 1 year from now. So we need to discount that back 1 period. So uppercase N takes the value of 1. Notice here that the true investment yield is the true annual investment yield. We need to input this as the decimal form. So it's 1 plus the decimal form of the true investment yield. And when we solve for this, we get $11,187,015.74. Let's solve for the other present value. The amount to be received 2 years from today, that's a future value, is $9,142,005. 2 years from today. So we need to discount this back 2 periods. So the value of uppercase N takes a value of 2. And when we solve for this, we get, let me shorten this up a little bit so I have a little more room. When we solve for this, we get $7,837,000. I think I'm going to have enough room. $795, and there we go. I got enough room, 78 cents. Again, when we add it all together, these two numbers, we get 19 million. That's a big number. $24,811.52. So we'll circle that. That's the correct number. So that's a wrap. If you like what you learned in this lesson, please consider telling your friends about this channel, TVM Rules, and the book that made it possible. Would Your Boomerang Return is home to the first of its kind user manual for the mathematics of finance. It's about time money had a user manual that is readable and will improve financial literacy. Financial literacy starts with knowing TVM, the time value of money. The ABCs of money is spelled TVM. Aspiring and current finance professionals aren't the only ones who need a financial education and who need to take the time to know how to determine the value of money. The secret to thriving instead of just surviving is right under people's noses, in their wallets and purses. The problem is they came into possession of the tool that is money without a user manual. It's a shame that more people don't realize that the time value of money is the knowledge that has the power to change their futures. Don't believe me? What's the future value in 25 years of $100,000 invested today and expected to earn a true annual investment yield of 12%? $1,700,006.44. If you haven't purchased your copy yet, all the important information on this all-important topic is gift wrapped within the cover of Would Your Boomerang Return. Until next time, enjoy the gift that is the present.